Are you a fan of musicals, Drew?
Joey.
Well,
or Drew. Oh, sorry.
I mean, that one just hit home, like, because I was actually in a car with somebody listening to that song, and I'm like, oh shit, I feel nothing. Like, and I was like, oh man, like, so it kind of cut deep, I guess.
So if I said I love you,
I'd say, oh man, I'm hungry. Like,
that's good. It makes me love you more.
You semi-jokingly said that you're dead inside, that you have a numbness to you.
I mean,
is that true, or is that just you kind of comedically deflecting stuff?
I would say it's an issue I have, probably. Like,
it's because you have a history of not. What you've noticed while you're taking data is that the responses that you're capable of giving are being received by other people. You're getting return data from them that's saying that response was less than, different than, more than I expected, and you are keeping score for yourself, and you're going like, yeah, I'm not that good at this people thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think like with the, not to go back to the Halloween side, but it's like, oh, is there a way Dan's supposed to reply to that first text? Like, and it's like, and then you're like, oh, well, should I? I mean, I'm glad you just be yourself. Like,
yeah, I just fucking went to just locked horns with her like a fucking ram, and then she's like twisting like, I'm like, oh shit, who's gonna win? Like, but yeah, I just like, it's this idea of dead inside. Like, I don't know, when we had Steve Silberman on, who like, we wrote this amazing book called Tribes, which is about neurodiversity. It doesn't have to do with like, oh, you have Asperger's, you are autistic, you are in the spectrum. Like it's just like, can we embrace this concept of neurodiversity where there's, it's like, now that the internet's here and we're a more text-based society, I think we're coming into a realization that, oh, a lot of humanity doesn't necessarily have this like total average facility, this almost artificial construct of normality when you run into somebody in public and you're learning their names, and you're like, people trouble with names and faces and nervous, and I don't know, like I just like it like this idea. I feel like the idea of being dead inside, the idea that, oh, this person doesn't have empathy and all that stuff, like it's archaic language, like it's problematic, as the kids would say, like, because it takes you into a zone of you're either Shatner or you're Leonard Nimoy, like you're I don't know why I use the actors' names. You're either Kirk or you're Spock. Like you're either like, ooh, I'm gonna fly in through the windows and fuck a green lady, and like that's how I saved the universe with my dick because I love feeling. And then or you're either that or you're Spock, and like, I don't understand, and it's like the whole like nerd face thing of like, Spock, you have feelings and stuff. It's like, come on, what is a feeling? What does it even mean? Like you, at the end of your podcast, you sit and thank 1,000 people, anybody who tweets you, people are messaging you and going, oh, my band's playing, and like you sit there and like go like, oh, you go see this guy's band and like all this shit. You're pathetic. You're a sappy sop.
It's a good thing I'm dead inside. That doesn't bother me at all.
You're dripping in feelings, like just from a different angle. You just have to get the because it's a responsibility to other people. I'm drunk.
I mean, I think what you're
I get drunk at this point.
The thing about the internet is like that it gets all this, like you're saying with the neurodiversity. It's like, oh wait, like I'm not the only freak out there. Like I guess I would classify myself as a spaz if we were in the Ferris Bueller spectrum of social disorders. But like then you realize like I started the podcast and I was like, I wonder if there's anybody out there that wants some weird ass bedtime stories. And then I was like, oh wait, there are. And then it was like, then they started telling people, and it's like, I guess what you're saying is like, I can hear that because it's like, oh yeah, like, well, who gives a shit? How like I can't respond perfectly to everything, like.
Yeah, just because if somebody came over for a cup of sugar, you wouldn't like say the right things at the right cue. It doesn't mean it's like, no, I'm fucking busy with my other thing that I connect with people through a different channel. Like that's what a painter is, or a furniture maker, or what do they call the guys that bring the mail? A mail bringer.
But I mean, I think
those postal workers. There's an expression, going postal. It means to give your feelings a different outlet.
Yeah, but like with the dichotomy thing, like if you only can fit into these two boxes, I think that's like half the reason why everybody feels so alone. I mean, other than the shit you think about when you're lying in bed, like, oh god.
Yeah.
But like then if you're like, oh wait, like yeah, there's a ton of other people that fit into this box with me, or the box doesn't have walls or whatever. But then when you're like, oh, do you like the guy with the bad hair? Like, are you for America or are you against America? It's like, what the fuck? Like,
I like the idea that it's like I find myself alternating like equally offended the idea that he represents bad people and shit like because it's like fuck you, he's a shitty bad person, like he's bad at being shitty, like I get mad, I'm like he's a bad Nazi, he's a bad fascist, like Hitler would have done way better by now, like it's like he doesn't even know what he's doing, like he can't even do it right, like you're bad Hitler, I want to like tweet at him, you're bad Hitler,
Wrong,
you're a bad Hitler,
wrong.
Yeah, well, Hitler...
Such a nasty man. Such a nasty man.
Nasty man. Such a nasty man. It's funny, like, the dichotomy thing, though, also...
I would have been a great Hitler. I would have been great.
I have so many people right now. Right now, if you go on all the...
I would have built a wall out of Jews.
The best Hitler... I've killed more Jews. I'm killing more Jews.
The Slavs would have paid for it.
All of the Nazis say I'm the best. They say I'm a better Nazi than a Nazi.
Yes.
I have all of the... you're going to do a great...
Stalingrad would have fallen so fast, your head would have spun.
It's going to be
It's true, believe me, it's
third
true.
and a half Reich. It's going to be...
I would have had so many Reichs, there would have been a million Reichs. Each Reich would have lasted for 10 million years. We're gonna invade China. They have a great wall.
But it's funny how sometimes dichotomy, you can't discount it either. It's not as easy as saying, it's like gluten. So let's do away with dichotomy. We use it all the time to get to the bottom of shit. It's like, well, look, let's step back from this and look at one of two paths here. Either we're going to do this or we're going to do that. And it's such a healthy thing to do half of the time, probably half of the time. And then probably half the time, probably most of the time, probably the best times. You're either building a wall or you're not building a wall. But the other half of the time, it's like I was sitting there, like I was watching Cody like crumble to the floor during the debates and scream when he said "nasty woman." Like when he all of the things, it's like nails on a chalkboard. Then I'm noticing myself going like, "Baby, he's not gonna win." And then she goes like, "I know," and then I'm thinking like, oh, well, why are you fucking being dramatic then? And then later on, she's like upset again. And I go like, I thought you said you knew he wasn't going to win. And she's like, I just said that because you made me feel stupid earlier. I'm like, I wasn't trying to make you feel stupid. I was trying to make you feel safe. I don't know that he's not going to win. I'm just being a man. I'm just being a man. I was like, and it was this crazy meta thing. Like I was being a man. I was trying to like pat her on the back during the debates and tell her the orange man's not going to win. Like that's my job as a man during debates. And it's like so then you go outward on that Fibonacci curve and you go like, well, okay, so like somewhere along, it's just like well, when he's not gonna win, and he can't win, and that doesn't. But here's the what do you want? A 5-party system? You got it. You probably stay pretty apolitical. Also, what do you do about tonality? That's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah, that's tough.
Because you had to put a warning on your episode.
That was a hairpin turn, man. Yeah.
Well, it's a hairpin turn next to the La Brea Tar Pits, which is everyone very values it bigly. But you had to put a little swear words warning on your episode of mine. How do you freely like just be yourself, and then like where do you stand in terms of why aren't you just saying shit and fucking?
Yeah, it's like it's tough like not being able, like it's like, okay, try to avoid talking about the election all because people are gonna go ape shit. Like I guess it's like keeping in mind somebody's lying in bed, and like sometimes it's gonna be like a grandmotherly like woman. And like that's why I like take so much time to kind of explain that the podcast is kind of weird, because I always like think of this like this little old lady putting on like her shawl and putting on, oh, she told me to listen to the podcast, and then it's like, what the hell is he talking about? Like,
why does he love abortion so much?
Yeah.
I'm trying to get some sleep over
Do you
here.
do a little like proviso at the beginning, like you do do an explainer at the top of each episode, or you kind of just get right into business?
It's kind of like there's like this 12-minute intro at least where it's almost like its own show, where I just like ramble on and on, like, okay, this is the podcast to put you to sleep. It's like I was thinking about water the other day, and I was drinking water. Oh wait, sorry, I'm in the middle of a podcast intro, and then so I'll do.
Isn't water too boring for most?
I was wishing I had like apple flavored water, and I was wondering who would invent
Can we lower
that?
the lights for a minute and just have you just like relax and have you just treat us to the cadence that you usually use? I just want to give people a taste.
Also, everybody take your shirts off.
Do we don't, it's too late to ask for any like wind chimes back there or anything. You don't use anything like that.
Give me like 30 seconds.
30 seconds for wind chimes?
You got 29, 28.
Well, this like, it
27.
brings up a good thing, like with wind chimes. It's like when you go to a wind chime store, do you think about like, well,
What's your
when it was
favorite-
a bamboo wind chime?
What's your
or
favorite wind
solid
chime
metal?
store in town?
I like wind chimes. But like, I don't know. And then it's like, do you want them big or small, or the ones that are like a xylophone? Because then it's like, well, then when that person comes home, they're going to run their hands across the stupid xylophone, and it's going to drive me nuts. So maybe I'll just get the but I hate those bamboo wind chimes, and like I try to lie there and think about, the wind chimes I used to hear when I was on that dock that one time, like lying there on that dock. The dock was bouncing up and down, and I was staring at the clouds, and I was like, man, like, those wind chimes are going to wake my dad up. He's going to go apeshit. So I got off the dock and walked up to the house, and I was walking up the dock, and I stopped at the dock, and then I looked in the water. There was a fish there, and I was looking at the fish, and I remember that time that guy was down there at the bottom, way down, all the way down. And then I was thinking, like, how did he get on that spaceship that one time? Like, because I was watching that one where he was on the spaceship and his mask was different. And, like, I was like, man, like, how do you get a new mask? Like, is that, like, was that some kind of interstellar shit? Like, and then, because Interstellar, like, what if he got sucked into a black hole, and then he like, and then my dad dropped his beer on the dock, and I said, oh shit, better be quiet and not talk over these wind chimes.
Hurry back.
But I was like, I was thinking about like that guy. What was his name? His name, like, so this would be the podcast. I couldn't say Freddie or Jason. But I said Voorhees. Like, have I known any Voorhees before? Because Voorhees is a good Voorhees. Voorhees. Like Voorhees. And I started hearing things. And then I started feeling angry. Like it was the wind chimes, and they kept going, ringing over and over.
I'm never going to sleep again.
What's the end?
This is a nightmare.
I never get to kill people.
He usually works in a more,
I just
more
picture
isolated
a lot
environment.
of grandmothers just wide awake. This is the end.
But is there a guiding principle that keeps you from, as you said, when you picture that old woman with the shawl, which let's use her as a symbol of, like, that's a reason to not get political, that's a reason to not use profanity. How is that? What compass do you? Is there like a guiding principle that keeps you clear of all of that?
No, and like I find like using like I guess I struggle with that because it's like I think some people when you swear it makes them feel more connected. Like like this vanillaizing of everything, like actually I think excludes people or giving everything normalcy. It's like, oh, my podcast is not normal. Like it's not like
Right.
so. It's like I struggle with like, oh, people are like, I can't believe you swore. I'm never listening again, and then I feel ashamed or whatever. But then I'm like, well, like I think there's probably 4,000 people that feel like, oh, finally someone's swearing on a sleep podcast.
But how do you, so in your day-to-day life, the person that you are, if I'm hanging out with you, or how often are you saying the word fuck, shit, and whatnot? Because I'm saying it every other word.
I mean, probably pretty often. Like, I mean,
so that's the confusing thing to me is that you're being yourself. Like you're going to the mind that I'm going down, but you're somehow.
But you're kind of putting on Drew more of like not a character, but you're going into a certain mode where you're like if you had to put on the hat, Dan, of let's make everybody feel relaxed, you wouldn't wouldn't.
Do you have kids?
I have one kid, yeah.
And so is it possible that maybe you're accessing that lobe where you're like she's listening, or is it your daughter?
I think it's like part of it is like my internal critic is so loud and powerful, and like so even when I sit down to record the show, like there's that narrative track going, like don't fuck this up, like let's like so it's like I try to like just get to this. Unfortunately the podcast doesn't translate to my regular life where I can be like, oh man, go ahead and cut me off, but like so like to counteract my critic, it's like it's the same part that people fall asleep to, I think, because their critic or that aggressive part of themselves is what's poking at them. Like as soon as you get in bed, it's like, why didn't you get this done today? Why did you piss your pants? Like, and it's like, and then you're like the person starts to like buy into that story, and they just start listening to that story. So it's like I'm there, and I'm like, well, here's another story you can listen to. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. It doesn't really go anywhere. And I think like at the same time, I'm like I'm like, listen, dude, we're just making a podcast to put people to sleep here. Like this isn't like a fourth draft or something.
Right.
Like
But when I asked you earlier,
down.
when I said earlier that must make you feel good, that you help people deal with their insomnia or go to sleep, and you said no, I feel nothing. But like, do you feel like this is a benevolent thing you're doing, or is that not why you're doing it? Is this more just you getting something off of your chest, or how important is it that you might be helping other strangers out?
I mean, it could be unpacked by like psychologists. Like I think part of it is like really narcissistic, like that when I was a kid I couldn't sleep and I lied there in bed miserable, and I didn't feel like, I was like, all right, you're on your own to deal with this, and I can't go back in time to fix that, so I think like if like a cold ass psychiatrist would be like, oh well, that's just what you're trying to do, just trying to go back. But I guess like it is cool, like if I hear from somebody like that has like PTSD, like from something that happened, I guess I do feel stuff sometimes. Like it's like, holy shit, like this silly thing I'm doing can help distract you from something that's horrific, or people.
Does that warm you up a little bit? Like how do you absorb that compliment, or do you just stick it in a drawer somewhere and deal with it later?
Yeah, I guess I try to put it in like this basket of like, okay, this is this real? Like, am I really helping people?
I would just put it in a bin that's like, okay, so that's like a firewood pile, like called "I won't get kicked out of society" for that amount of time. Like every time someone writes and says like, you helped because this feely thing, and then I go like, good, so you'll have my back when they're about to throw me off a cliff.
It is really weird, like from Harmontown and from like doing other comedy shows like Whose Line, like people walk up and they say, hey, like it's really common, like strangely common, that people come up and say, like, you helped me through a really hard time. Like, I was sick, or I was in hospital, or my mother was going through a thing. Like, and people have like these really intense connections to this stupid thing that we're like. I mean, not that this is stupid, but it is stupid. Like, it's irresponsible, and we don't think about it. We just show up half drunk and do this thing. But people like have these weird connections to it, and when they say, you really helped me through some major shit, and your instinct is to go, you got to get out more, like, and deflect that. But really, that's like that's a major thing to unload.
But it also doesn't, you can't like translate it into anything that starts with your value. Like I've come to look at it like if you were in a pool and people are just grabbing you. That's a bad example because someone's going to drown. But like if you're in the dark or everyone's on ecstasy or it's a confusing party or you're in a hay maze or something, like somebody grabbing you and saying, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad I ran into you. I remember you from before by the entrance to the hay maze. And I was with my girlfriend. I don't know if you remember her, but I lost her. And like, I just seeing you like reminds me, but you kind of like, you were like, oh, so we are Catchers in the Rye. I didn't read the book. They tried to make us. I got 100 on the test. I just like, click alienation. Yeah, got it. But I think it's something about that. Like it's like you're running into each other and people are expressing that. Like it's not. Oh, you did something good. Like your snake oil is better than other snake oil. It's like, oh, when you put yourself out there, when you get onto the dance floor, even if you're doing a silly dance, even if you're that sooner or later you get to experience the sensation of dancing with other people. That they will, someone will go, yay! I like. I'm so glad you're out here because these weddings suck.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like the other thing. I mean, it makes me think of two things. One, it like also, but like
I PT'd him.
But,
all right,
You
you
pre-teed him.
TBT.
You pre-teed his SD.
All right.
TBT'd.
We'll figure it out later.
But I mean, the other thing is people don't get credit for being nice. Like, it's like all the people that say thank you for shit, like, everybody's always heaping on, and I mean, I guess I'm a cynical person too, but it's like, I've been blown away, like you're saying, that people come up to, like, that people are thankful. Like, it's like, no, when we look at all this election shit and like, oh, how do you think about it? Well, or like, it's like, oh wait, there's tons of people out there, and they might even be people that believe in the crazy, like the other stuff, but it's like that are saying like thank you. Like, I don't know. It is definitely like making the show has made me maybe like a softer person, or been like, man, there is some good in the world, despite like presuming there isn't or whatever. I don't know.
When you do one, do you have that kind of sense of like some sort of sense of accomplishment, or is it simply just like, oh, I did one thing today that was semi or possibly productive, and so like I can rest a little easier? It's
more like, I guess if I have like one out of every 30 episodes or 40 episodes, then I feel like damn, that came out good, even if it's not good. Like, I don't know, like once every 40 episodes I'll have one done, I'll be like, oh, like that felt really good. Like, and I don't care. Like, I can make it another 40 episodes.
I'm curious though, because like I'm so into detail, like almost to the point of distraction that I don't know that I would fall asleep. I think that I was like, where's he going with this? or even if you're not going anywhere,
the point that's okay. Like, and I think that's part of the interesting thing is that, as we said in the beginning, if a doctor tells you to chew on a straw, like the straw chewing is just it sends you into this weird thing, and like. He's like, hey, listen, by the way, if you find yourself very focused on what I'm saying, that's okay too. You're not doing it wrong. You may fall asleep to something else afterwards.
Joey, are you a good sleeper? Are you a...
Oh, yes. I sleep all the time.
This guy's the best. Oh, my...